Hey everyone, nice to see you all. I'm a little bit disorganized, but I seem to be liking to go live nearly every day at the moment. And this was a burning kind of thing on my mind last night and this morning. So I thought I would just plow through and we'll do a short show today. I always say that, but it will be short. And then we'll just continue to build on this because I think this is another theme that we're following, a new theme. Hey, Mustang. Hey, Scott. Hey, Nicole. Hey, Ben. Thank you for joining me. I know it's a weird time over there. But really appreciate you guys being in here. I'm going to update the intro as well. We just had the countdown today and last time. I need to update it. I've got lots of new mods and really still want to have the Daisy Asks theme though with her picture. So that's coming back soon. I just got to edit it. And I'm not the best at editing all these things. Anyway, just wanted to say a big thank you to everybody for sticking around and showing up for all my lives, for watching them, the replay crew. Really appreciate you guys too. I just still cannot believe I'm so overwhelmed by the amount of subscribers we've got and just how wonderful and beautiful this community is. So super, super appreciate that. Got lots more content coming your way. Tomorrow I am going to jump in the deep end and we're going to talk about some of the other offenders that Rick gets compared to. I haven't actually even planned slides or a presentation, just winging it from here on in because otherwise I just don't have enough time and I procrastinate. But today we're going to launch off something that our buddy See-Through brought up yesterday in our live. Was it yesterday? I'm losing track of the days of the week. Yes, it was yesterday. And poor See-Throughs, because See-Through, I'm saying it incorrectly, had literally been posting this in the chat, I guess, over the last few days, and I had not looked at it. I guess because I just saw V1, V15, page this, and I was like, oh no, I hate looking for documents. Even though All Eyes has done an amazing, exceptional job of the website, it's still time consuming. And for someone with ADHD who doesn't even like to pack up her laptop at the end of the day to leave the clinic for an hour, there was no way that I like to go looking for documents. But you know what? Sometimes you just know you need to do it. And See-Through was 100% on the money with this. So I'm so, so glad that I finally listened to my friend in the chat and did that. And that's why See-Through is on lots of pictures and stuff that's going on my channel, because they really deserve to be called out for kind of pointing me in this direction. So for the last few days, week nearly, we've been talking about the Hoosier Harvest Store issue and the cars. And we've been like, what car does Dave McCain drive? And we've been hypothesizing and guessing. And all along, it was there. It was there in the clerks or clerks. I don't know what you guys say over in the state. In the state. What's going on? In the States. But the clerks exhibit volume 1 to 15. Volume 9, page 97. Now, I'm going to bring this up on the screen so you guys don't have to go and do all the digging. But if you want to see it for yourself, absolutely do the digging. It's just one page, and it's one page of so much information that I do not know how I have missed. But thank you so much, See-Through. I don't know if you're in here, but I know you'll catch the replay. Really appreciate it and love seeing your beautiful puppy on the screen too. Okay, so let's dive in. So why am I going on and on about this document? Why is it so important? Give me a sec. Let's pop it up on the screen. It's this one, and I'm going to zoom in a bit so you guys can actually read it, because right now I can see that's not easy to read. Give me a second. I'm going to complain about my laptop screen like I always do. I think it's time for a new laptop with more RAM as well. But I never intended when I bought this laptop to be doing YouTube. So there you go. Things change. I may have to steal that gaming laptop from my son. I don't think he'll be impressed by that though. Okay, so I'm going to leave this on the screen and I'm going to see if I can still at least see a little bit of the chat. Oh, thank you, Mustang. That's really sweet of you. And Mustang, you are lovely. You're such a kind person. I really, really appreciate that. I wanted to actually put your comments as well on the stage. I just wish that StreamYard gave the option of putting the comments on the other side. But anyway, we'll put them there. We'll scroll up when we're reading this document. Okay, let's extend it a little bit so I can still see the chat, but see the document at the same time and not cut it off for you guys. I'm going to have to drop it down a little bit. There we go. Can you guys read that on the screen? Let me know if you can read it on the screen. If you can't, you'll have to go and do the deep dive searching to find it. And hopefully you don't have the same attitude as I do to trying to locate documents that are actually just there on one website. Okay, so this document here, it looks like some sort of investigative summary. A lot of it seems like it's from the PCA. And, oh, hey, Chester, nice to see you. Got a question there about the car. Yeah, look, I think that it would be pretty hard, I imagine, to remove physical evidence. I'll pop your comment on the screen. I don't know. I'm not a forensic expert, and I didn't even do, oh goodness, I just realized that I didn't do my disclaimer, everybody. So as you know, these are just my opinions on publicly available information, and nothing I say here constitutes expert opinion. Even though I'm a clinical psychologist, I'm not diagnosing or treating people or assessing people in this context. I'm just a true crime enthusiast who knows about psychology and loves to learn more about forensics. So disclaimer there. We're also remembering that anyone we talk about today is not guilty unless found guilty in a court of law. And as I always like to say, even then, doesn't mean they're guilty in this case. Yeah, I can't be bothered to put the disclaimer up on the screen now because we're deep into this. Sorry for always mentioning it, but I have to be so careful around ethics and integrity. So, look, Scott's got a little bit of an answer to this for you, Chester. So let's pull up Scott's answer. So Scott says, a question of how much evidence you bring into the car. If he was covered in blood, then taking off the coat and jeans and stashing them in the boot would help. Yeah, I mean, look, I don't know about this. We could do some more research, but yeah, that sounds right to me. So tick for you, Scott, only joking. Not that you need my approval to say it was right. But I was just thinking of like the Idaho 4 case. They didn't find anything in the car there, did they? So technically speaking, I suppose there would be ways to potentially cover up some of that. You'd have to literally, though, have planned this, I think, in order to do that. I think that it would be pretty hard to avoid in a case of such a horrific sadistic crime. But, you know, I'm going to always be fair here, even though I don't believe Rick is the offender. Hi, RC99. Oh, sorry, 991. Lovely to see you as always as well. I'll be fair here and say, I suppose after 5 years, if the person used particular protective methods, they could do it, like get rid of the material. I guess, again, you would expect that more of someone who's really got a lot of criminal know-how or knowledge. And I mean, I guess in Idaho 4, Koberger was a criminology student, you know, had a long history of studying criminology. Rick Allen, you know, we don't really see anything other than him saying, I think he watches Dateline. Oh, I'm going to have that cough again, guys. What is it about the evenings? Give me 1 sec. I don't want to cough into you again. Okay. It's actually not a cough. It's just that I eat and drink and then I come here and talk. And as I talk a million miles an hour, I think that makes a difference. Okay. So, yeah, so not 100% on that. I don't think that it would probably be a slam dunk argument that the car had nothing in it. But yeah, I think it's certainly more likely that if it didn't transfer into the car, that this is someone who's planned ahead, that's got some sort of protective gear, or yeah, is stripping off before they get to the car, which again seems a bit odd if you're parked at the CPS building, because that's in clear view of both the 300 North Road, but also there is a view from the Hoosier Heartland Highway. Questionable, we're going to talk about that today, but still technically visible. So I don't know, are you going to be walking muddy and bloody up along that road in front of all these cars that are parked there, people that are looking, there are people actually, you know, on the roadside, you're walking past the business, the Hoosier Harbour Store, and then you're getting to the old CPS building, potentially when the girls are known to be missing, if we're to go by what Sarah Carbar says, and then strip out your clothes and put them in the boot. Yeah, I don't know. I'm dubious about this. I mean, first of all, it's just getting to that building. There is not a lot of coverage there. particularly in that last strip. It's quite a clear strip. So I don't know that you'd be able to do that. But again, we're open to all possibilities here. So today, the cars that we're going to talk about is pretty much all of the cars that were parked around the trails that day. And we've talked before about my theory, my hypothesis that there are two cars that are present around the CPS building. And that's based on the testimony of Brad Heath and also based on Betsy Blair's observations of cars, but also a whole heap of other people that talked about seeing cars that day. Now, some of these people we had no idea of, or we didn't know who they were, because in the PCA, the names were blanked out. So for a long time, we've had various different ideas. A UPS driver has been thrown around. I don't know that the UPS driver is on the list we're talking about today. We've heard Teresa Liebert potentially seeing a car as well parked at the CPS. I've never seen that actually verified. She didn't mention that at trial. Everybody seemed to ignore a lot about the cars, didn't they, at trial, other than the defense bringing, was it Brad Heath? Did he talk about the cars at trial? I believe he did. And Betsy Blair. Was it Betsy Blair? I'm trying to remember. It was both, wasn't it? They both saw the old style car. Yeah. Okay. So let's get to this document. So when I found this document through See-Through, who has a very difficult username to say. Sorry, See-Through, because I keep forgetting to say the S in the middle. And I have a bit of a lisp, as you can probably tell, so it's really hard for me. Not your fault, my fault, totally. I can't stand my lisp, by the way, guys. I need to get one of those audio tools that gets rid of a lisp, because it really annoys me when I hear myself back. I'm like, ugh. Whenever you listen to a recording of yourself or watch a video of yourself, I don't know if everyone does this, but I'm super critical. I'm like, what on earth? I just look so silly. Anyway, let's look at this document. So this document here is what I said is probably an investigative summary. It definitely seems to be something that was used to actually help with constructing the PCA. No, Chester, they have not released a full video. So no. Wouldn't that be good though? I think, Mustang, are you talking about the parking of the car? Because I think I saw Scott saying backing in is pretty common. It is a really Australian thing to do. I don't know if it's common over in the States, but here everybody backs into everything. It's actually kind of annoying because it's like everyone just takes so long. Nowadays we have those cameras with those cars with the rear cameras, so even people like me are able to reverse park their car. But in the old days, it would be painful watching people struggle to do that. Okay, so this document is answering a lot of questions for us. This wasn't all on the PCA. When I read the first bit, I thought it was. But then as you go down, you realize they're giving us the timestamps of people on the Hoosier Harbour Store camera, which is so helpful. I kind of don't know why I hadn't seen this earlier, because it would have been so much easier then to plot the timeline of the people that arrive on the trails after about 2 o'clock. But unfortunately, I only just saw this. I don't know when this record was released, but yeah. Yes, Scott, I did search this. In Indiana, it is a rear-only license plate. So yes, technically I can see why people would think that's suspicious, because if it's backed in, then it's hiding the one plate. So yeah, that is a possibility. Oh, hey, Nature Love. Lovely to see you. Thank you for joining us. By the way, I'm an 82er too. So my birthday, guys, is so soon, 10 days away. I get quite excited about my birthday. Every year, my kids like to have a pool party, and the weather's been pretty good the last few years when we planned that. Oh, hey, Just James. I don't think I've seen you in our chat before. Thank you for joining us. You've got a spreadsheet, Scott? Because I started making a little table in my break today, and I got jack of it very quickly. I also I'll show you. I'll come on camera and show you some of the silly stuff I've been doing today on the back of psychology worksheets that don't have any client details. Don't worry. They're just psychology worksheets. Let's put me on camera. So look at this. this is how I started in Delphi. If anyone goes down my posts to some of my early posts, you'll see that I actually drew so many versions of the trails, and I then like plotted things out, and it was just all on the back of like my kids' artwork or in their like scrapbooks. My son even wanted to copy it, and he drew the trails. And then my niece was here on holiday, and she got on Canva and tried to make the trails for me. Yeah, it was so interesting. Back in the early days when I really knew nothing about what technology I could use here. I'm still struggling though. So this was my random notes with Texter on the back of a sheet that says how to create a routine, create a focus area. So it's an ADHD sheet, probably need that, and ocean breathing. So if anyone wants to learn about ocean breathing, we can also do that. It's on the other side. Anyway, okay. So let's go back to this document. So Scott, if you've got that, yeah, I know I often do get AI to do that for me. Is that in our lovely shared drive that you shared with me, Scott? Because it'd be great to have that, definitely. Because, oh my goodness, this document is a mess. It really is. And I'm not just talking a mess in saying, oh, well, there's some grammatical errors or anything like that. No. It's a mess because there are just so many aspects of it that just seem like complete discrepancies. And it's not just me that thinks that. I know Yellow Jacket was talking about this because I actually posted this up on X because I thought all eyes might want to see this because I think this hasn't been updated in her timeline, and I love her timeline. It's another way to get lots of info. I don't always agree with the exact timeline, but I love finding all the points of data in it. And Yellow Jacket commented that there's some absurdities in this. And I mean, that's what we've come to expect, isn't it? Because what in this investigation is not an absurdity? Yeah, nothing. Right? So whether you believe Rick's guilty or not, I think most of us agree that the investigation was absurd. We've got recorded over interviews. We've got lost tips that weren't really lost. They were found and then lost. And we've got information in bankers' boxes that was printed out after it was stored in the banker's box, just like defy logic and time. We've got magical ghosts clearing tips. There's a lot of things in this case that seem incredibly absurd. So this is just another one of them. And we're going to look at this alongside the PCA today, which is a probable cause affidavit for anyone who is new to true crime. I didn't know that back in the day. And we're going to look at these two documents together and see how, I believe, allegedly, narratives are spun, because this just feels like another narrative that is not narrative in the sense of a police document, but narrative in the sense of it feels contrived. But let's see what you guys think. I try not to be biased, but of course, it's hard for me not to be a little bit biased. I was going to say completely biased, but no, I'm not completely biased. But it's hard for me not to be a little bit biased. Anyway, I'm going to go off the camera because I can see myself flailing my arms around like a lily pad. I don't even know what I'm saying. A silly person. Okay, so let's look at this. Actually, if I remember. That was silly. I removed myself. That wasn't actually a good idea. What I wanted to do was make this full screen, and I removed myself instead. Lucky I realized that sooner rather than later. Okay, here we go. Now we can look at this. So this document here, like I said, when I first read it yesterday, I was like, oh, isn't this just a PCA? No, it's not. So, yeah, Scott, we need that time. We need that spreadsheet, don't we? But anyway, I will show you my little Word document later where I've kind of tried to clock some of this. But essentially, this is what we've got. We've got a whole lot of people who are citing cars, and then we've got a whole lot of people who were understanding what car they drove. And like I said before, the timestamps are super helpful for understanding when David McCain arrived, when Shelby Hicks arrived, when Dave Riley arrived. Some of these poor people have been thrown under the bus. I've seen people say, well, maybe Dave McCain was there earlier, or maybe Daniel Pearson was there earlier. And I hope that this document firms up some of their times. However, I know there will still be questions, because I think some people may believe that people arrived separately rather than together. And because of the fact that this document again has things that are just illogical in it, it's going to again probably lead to more speculation. However, on this channel, we're going to try to just look through it with unbiased eyes and try and just see if we can kind of sift through some of the errors and make sense of this document. All right, so do you want me to read it, guys, or do you just want to read it on the screen? Let me know in the chat. I don't really love reading things out, but I can if we need to. Maybe I'll read it out because I know some people just listen in. Okay, so bear with me. Sorry about the lisp, everybody. Let's go. So it says, as Blair is leaving, she noted a vehicle parked in an odd manner at the old CPS building. She said that it was not odd for vehicles to be parked there, just odd that it was backed in near the building. She said that vehicles often use the south edge of the parking lot, so they are closer to the trail to get to the Freedom Bridge. I reviewed tip, I'm not going to say the number, from Terry Wilson. Interesting that they reviewed a tip. Anyway, Wilson was on his way to Delphi on the 13th of the 2nd, I'm saying it in my way, the 13th of February, on the Hoosier Heartland Highway at approximately 2:10 p.m. or 14:10. He observed what he describes as a purple PT Cruiser or a small SUV-type vehicle parked on the south side of the old CPS building. Wilson said that it was backed in as to conceal the license plate of the vehicle. During their interviews, both Blair and Wilson drew a diagram and had the vehicle they saw parked in the same general area and manner. Now, let's have a look at the map. So I'm going to share the map next. Here we go. Share this tab instead. Am I actually on sound? Let me just double check. Are you guys hearing me? I think I am. I think you can still hear me. Good. Okay. So Chester's just saying, how is Rick Allen a tip when he went to the police voluntarily? I think they say a tip is just anybody who either contacts or is contacted about, if that makes sense. So Terry Wilson's a tip as well, even though he's, well, no, I guess what you're saying, he's kind of, no, because he's a witness. I suppose a witness calling in is technically then submitting a tip. So the tip isn't about Rick. The tip is about the story. I think that's what it is. Yeah. Okay, now if we look at this map here, it becomes a little bit hard to understand Mr. Wilson's kind of account. And it's not to suggest that Mr. Wilson isn't being accurate here, but I wonder how he had a particularly good view. Because if we look here, this is the Hoosier Heartland Highway. So initially I thought he was driving here. And it could be that there's a typo. Again, I mean, we'll never know, will we? But essentially, he says Hoosier Heartland Highway towards Delphi. Now, because you guys are in the States, he'd be driving on that side, right? If he's going that way to Delphi. So if this is a pretty major road and he's on this side of the road and he says he's seen a car that's, I believe that's where they say it is. It's backed in around here, not over here. I mean, that's not easy to see. I mean, it looks easy on this map, but this is very much reduced. Wrong side. Is it the wrong? They drive on the wrong side though, don't they? I'm trying to think. If I was driving on this road, I'd be driving that way, but he's driving this way. Yeah, it's that side, isn't it? If he's driving into Delphi on this road, if that's the location, or if he's driving to Delphi this way and turning that way, I don't know. But if he's going down this way, then that's the other side of the road. Am I right? Or am I still wrong? They drive on the right-hand side. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So he's driving this way, Scott. So I guess my arrow is pointing up, but I'm saying he's going from the top corner down because they said he's driving to Delphi. Delphi's that way. But the only other thing I could think of was if he was driving to Delphi, like on this road and then turning this way into the main area because Delphi's down there. But either way, I don't think he'd have the best view of that building, would he? I'm just curious. I mean, I could be wrong, but it doesn't look so it doesn't look so far on this map because it's all condensed. But just to give us some context, I suppose, if we go down this map and we look at that distance there across from there is the same as the distance of well, there you go. It's the same as the distance of the Freedom Bridge. That's a fair amount. Would he really be able to see that well? Yes, he's on the side away from the building. Exactly. Yeah, you wouldn't get very many details in. So you might have seen it. Exactly. So, look, he may have seen a car there. He says around 2:10 as well, which is really important here. We don't know exactly the time. And he says a purple PT Cruiser, which I've looked up a purple PT Cruiser. I don't know if anyone else has. I'm sure you have. Let's look one up now. See, if I have my slides ready earlier, I could just pull stuff up, but that's okay. We can do it this way. Share this tab instead. There you go. There's a purple PT Cruiser. It doesn't look like a Ford Focus to me. Does it look like a Ford Focus to anyone else? But again, he could be forgiven for not seeing it very well from that distance. I've actually watched videos of people driving here, and your view would not be very good. So, I can forgive him for not knowing the detail of the car. But I suppose, why is this being used as evidence that supports it being Rick Allen's car? Because realistically, it doesn't really look like Rick Allen's car. And like I said, I bear in mind that he is seeing it from a distance, but then perhaps they shouldn't use that as evidence. Yeah? Okay, so that's Terry Wilson. So he's driving his car on this stretch here and sees a car parked there around 2:10. Okay, so that's actually not inconsistent with my timeline, because if it is Rick and he's just got muddled up with what type of car it is, then according to my timeline, Rick leaves around the 2-ish mark, or just after 2. So to me, that's not particularly concerning according to my timeline, which is completely contrarian and different to pretty much anybody else's timeline, including the state's timeline. Anders, what's going on? I don't know what's going on. Okay. I hope everything's okay. I'm pretty sure that I've seen you in our chat before, so I'm not sure what's happening, but okay. Okay. Anyway, let's keep going. So let's get to the next part of this document. Am I doing okay with sharing all these different tabs? Here we go. Okay, so big issue here is that we've got 2 different cars being seen. And interestingly, in here, we're not hearing the type of car that Betsy Blair saw. Isn't that unusual, given they got her to actually draw the type of car she saw? And that car looks nothing like Rick's car. And interestingly, we've also, which we're going to learn a little bit later on here, we've learned that now Dave McCain's car is not a dark hatchback. It's actually a tan-coloured sedan. So if the car she saw matches Dan McCain's car best and matches a Comet, then that is not Rick Allen's car. So we've got a big issue here. Neither of these 2 people are seeing Rick Allen's car. Okay, they could be a little bit wrong. Memory for cars is not great. I'll go with that. However, they're both seeing cars that don't look anything alike as well in color. And actually, no color. I can't even say that because Betsy Blair doesn't know the color, but she says it's not black. But you can see how we're getting in a muddle here in terms of what they're seeing. Oh, I'm sorry, Nicole. I hope you feel better. You poor thing. That sucks. Nauseousness is the worst. It's actually the worst feeling. Ugh, can't stand it. I hope you feel better soon. So, yes, they might see something that is parked in a similar location in a similar way, but they're not seeing a car that's similar. Unless we're saying a purple PT Cruiser looks like a sedan type car, or it looks like a Comet, which I don't think it does. So we're already getting these anomalies. Now, this stuff also shows up in the PCA. We'll look at the PCA again in a minute as well. So this is what they're basing their probable cause on. But it gets worse. There's more to it than that. Well, actually, I don't know if it gets worse, but there's more to it. So this was the name and the description that really caught my eye. And I'm going to be honest, my heart sank a little bit with this one, because I've always stood by the idea that I do believe that Rick potentially parked at the old CPS building between the hours of 1 and 2. And some of the sightings that are not mentioned here did describe seeing that car around those times. I've always believed Betsy Blair may have seen 2 cars, and kind of her memory has kind of combined the 2. Nothing odd about that. She's not doing it on purpose, just how memory works. But when I saw this account about Wesley McWhirter, I started to feel a little bit more concerned. My heart sank the first time when I saw it in the PCA, but then I was like, no, the wording's a bit weird. It doesn't make sense. And then I saw it again here, and they're just, because I think what I said in the PCA, which I know I probably shouldn't switch between the 2, actually. I was going to, but I think it's actually going to be too complicated. But the wording in the PCA made it very, very ambiguous about what time. They said that he was seen leaving at 2:20, and I'm like, leaving where? Leaving what? But now from this document, we can see that he's seen leaving the Hoosier Harvest Store, because Wesley is an employee of the Hoosier Harvest Store. Yes, Anders, it was Betsy Blair that said she saw a comet, and it's most likely that her memory of that car is more accurate because it was a meaningful type of car, because her dad had driven one. And also it's a little bit more of a unique car. So I would trust, not that it was necessarily a comet for sure, but I would trust that overall shape of the car that she described for sure. Okay. Well, Scott, you are right. That's what it means now when we look at this. But previously on the PCA, it just says leaving. It's like, leaving where? Where was he leaving at 2:28? You know, was he leaving the trails? Was he, like, I don't know. I can't remember the exact wording. We'll look at it in a minute. But when we read this, I'm going to agree with you. My heart sank. I was like, wait a second. If the car's seen at 2:28, and if that is indeed Rick's car, because I do wonder if there was the old car on the road, like Brad Heath said, and the little small car, dark car at the CPS, I thought that was potentially Rick. Nothing suspicious. But look at this still. That was vague, but even this is confusing. Okay, because Wesley told ISP Tim Kendall in an interview that he remembered seeing a smaller dark-coloured car parked at the old CPS building. He described the car as possibly being a smart car. Now, they don't say he saw the car at this time at the building. They then imply the time by saying he works at the Hoosier Harvest Store and is seen leaving work at 2:28, heading towards the CPS building. Now, I don't know if anyone else sees this, but that's sneaky. I don't feel like this here is as transparent as it should be. Okay. Now, I know people could say I'm reaching here because I don't want Rick to be guilty. And that's true. I don't believe Rick is guilty on so many other factors. And this definitely would destroy my timeline if it's true. And I don't want to be biased. I know I sometimes am, guys. I'm going to admit it. But I thought, okay, I'm like, this feels a bit, ugh. I put it into my buddy, ChatGPT, and I said, don't be biased. Doesn't this mean that potentially Rick's car is still there at the time of the abduction? Now, after ChatGPT created a few ridiculous stories that didn't make sense, I firmed it back down to the actual facts. And what it actually pulled out was actually quite useful. Now, usually when I get a bit shaky about Rick's innocence, which hasn't really happened for a long time now. I think the last time I got shaky about Rick's innocence was right back when the exhibits was first being released, and I was trying to make sense of them. And yeah, but usually it will absolutely lean into it if I actually pose the question that way. But it refused. It refused to lean into this. It said that based on ChatGPT's algorithm, which I'm not saying is the God's word or anything like that, but that the wording of this is deliberately still obscure. Now, to add weight to this, because yes, that could just be reaching, it certainly was my interpretation when I looked at it that they're trying to say that he saw that car probably at about 2:28, 2:30. But I had wondered, and I've said this in the CPS 2 cars video that I did a few weeks ago, this is wonderful for the prosecution. where's Wesley McWhirter? Why is he not called as a witness at trial? Because here he is indicating that he's seeing a small dark coloured car parked at the old CPS building at 2:28. Now, if that's accurate, that that's the time he saw it, then wouldn't that be such amazing evidence? Better than the blurry car on the Hoosier Harvest Store video. Now, I don't think that Wesley McWhirter is the issue here. You know, I never actually think any of the witnesses are an issue. I don't think anyone's lying or being misleading or colluding with law enforcement. What I think is that Wesley McWhirter doesn't actually know what time he saw the car that day. Or maybe he does, and it's not 2:28. Why do I think that? Because Wesley McWhirter works at the Hoosier Harvest Store. He clearly could go past the CPS building at least another time when he got there. Now, of course, I would presume he probably started work earlier, so he probably didn't see the car really early. However, also, I feel like Wesley McWhirter could potentially have left work to go and get lunch. Is that reasonable? Because I don't know about everybody else here, but I leave work to get lunch most days, except when I'm lazy enough to get Uber Eats. I'm guessing at the Hoosier Harvest Store they weren't getting Uber Eats, but, you know, who knows? Sorry, Mustang, I missed that. Sometimes when I get into a monologue, I miss what you were saying. I'm not sure. So no thoughts on why he changed his timeline. I don't think he changed his timeline, Mustang. So when I was doing some of the timeline videos quite a while ago, I looked into a lot of memory research, and I was looking at something called the telescoping effect, where, I mean, our memory for time is poor regardless, but what we also notice is that our memory for time can become, they call it telescoping because, let me remember it. It's that it's seen as closer in time the longer that time passes. I didn't explain that very well. So, for example, if I went to the shops yesterday at 1 p.m. and you ask me again in a week, I might actually pull it earlier and see it as 12 p.m. So there's all sorts of different cognitive and memory effects that have been looked into and studied. The reality is that, like, your memory is just really not great. Okay, like I struggle to remember what I ate for breakfast. I know that I have a particularly poor short-term memory, but Rick Allen also has depression, and he also, as far as we could see in Westcott's testimony, his executive functioning was quite poor. Now, that is also post-psychotic episode in the quite early aftermath, and potentially medicated with Haldol still, or anyway. So there could be other reasons for that. But regardless, we know that people who experience depression and anxiety can experience reduced executive function too, partly because, you know, attention is compromised when you're ruminating, or your cognitive functioning can slow down sometimes when you're depressed. I'll often say to people, it's not the best time to get an IQ test because it can artificially look a lot lower because your brain isn't functioning in its usual way. So and so I think the reason that a lot of people who go with this earlier timeline end up getting into kind of, I guess, a battle with people who believe Rick's guilty is because they go, oh no, Doolan wrote the time down wrong, it was incorrect, or, and they try to find a reason. And I think that is reaching, because now that we've seen initially, early days, I'll be honest, I thought that was a possibility too. However, now we have actually seen the Orion tip. I don't believe that would be very possible. That tip looks pretty kosher to me. So I actually, before we even saw that, believed Rick's timeline was probably closer to the initial time he gave. So the 1 to 3, but I think it's 1 to 2. And I was able to plot that and make sense of it according to a whole heap of stuff with witness statements, memory research, and geography. So if you're interested, go back and watch my timeline video, but also I will do another updated version of that at some point soon, because I'm quite passionate about my timeline. I used to draw it out and, do pictures in my kids' scrapbooks, I really do believe that the timeline that I suggest makes sense. And it is, again, an exculpatory timeline because he says that when he leaves, he sees the two cars parked in the lot, the SUV and the sedan, which is Betsy Blair and Kelsey German. So I'm going to still keep returning back to that point because I don't think that the 1 to 2 timeline is a problem. I know there's some people chatting. Thank you so much. I'm not catching everything because I'm really struggling to watch and talk about this at the same time, multitasking. But I am seeing some comments as they come through. Chester, the Hoosier Harvest store, I don't believe it's actually a store. I think, can anyone else tell us what it is? Oh, there you go. Nicole said it's not a store either. Yeah, I'm not sure exactly what it is. Or if it is, it would be more maybe like wholesale. So yeah, I don't know. I'm not too sure. But I think that it's sort of like a manufacturing kind of thing. So it wouldn't have a cafeteria there. Like, sure, people could take their lunch to work, but I don't know. I don't know what's commonplace over there. Here, I'd say it's 50-50. Oh, maybe more. No, actually, a lot of my colleagues bring their food to work. But I mean, I do also work with a lot of women, and not to stereotype it, but I do feel like the women who I work with are a lot more organized and prepared, and they're often wanting to eat healthy, except for me. Whereas if I think about like a lot of men I know, they'll go out and buy lunch, but that's a very big stereotype. I'm not suggesting it's a gender related decision, but it's just a little anecdotal piece of information that I've noticed of the people who I work with, or not work with, people I know. But yeah, I go out and get lunch every day. So I'm just curious. I wonder if he would have driven past. I don't know if their job also may have involved, delivering something. It's hard to know. I don't know what Wesley's job is. I think the biggest indicator to me, though, that this statement here is not particularly useful to the state is that the fact that it doesn't show up at trial. Now, I don't really feel like there's a good reason for that because they use some pretty questionable evidence at trial. We've got Brad Weber and his van, the fact that he changed his story, but they still bring him up to give the evidence that they say supports Rick Allen's confession. Sarah Carver, and again, no offense to her, but, her testimony was not believed. I don't believe. I think was it the juror interview where they said they didn't really take that on board too much, but I know there was some questionable kind of aspects around that. Not questionable because she was deliberately misleading, but yeah. Then on top of that, well, not on top of that. I mean, there's lots of testimony at the trial that was probably more questionable than this. If this is indeed true, they have a timestamp of when Wesley McWhirter left work because he worked at the Hoosier Harvest store. This is damning, right? Hence why when you look at this and you assume this is correct, and if you do believe Rick is innocent and you believe he parked at the CPS like I do, then this feels pretty awful. So why wouldn't they use this at trial? I don't really see a reason they wouldn't. So anyone in the chat, any reason that you think they wouldn't have used this at trial? Because Wesley McWhirter surely isn't going to be a questionable witness like Brad Weber, who had told a different story. Oh, Scott, I don't know. I think you're reaching there now. I'm reaching, but you're reaching as well, because why would they not need this? This cements the fact that this car is potentially parked there at 2:30. We don't have anything else that cements that. They'll use that blurry, ridiculous picture of a car at 1:27 that doesn't really cement anything. I mean, it's still questionable. But I think that this would be far more useful if it were true. So I don't know. They seemed to want to stay away from anything to do with sightings of the car at the CPS, didn't they? I wonder why, because there are so many random different sightings that don't add up. No, I agree, Scott. It's not more solid than Betsy Blair saying it. I don't think either side played the whole what people saw thing as well as I would now do it with hindsight. So again, not suggesting at all that I would do a better job than the defense. Obviously, hindsight's 2020, and we're looking at all of this stuff. But I don't understand why they wouldn't want to corroborate that his car was parked there. I mean, they did in the PCA. Then why wouldn't you just pull this out? They did need it. They didn't have a whole heap of evidence. They had a questionable magic bullet with questionable tool mark analysis. And yeah, they got the right result, but that's only because a lot of information was suppressed, and also because, well, look, it wasn't the result a lot of people would have expected. I don't think. I think a lot of people believed that the jury would be a hung jury, and also the state didn't recognise that the main thing, not the only, but that the main thing that the defence would rely upon was this audio output route situation. They didn't even seem to know about that prior. So, well, I suppose if they didn't know about that, maybe they thought they already had the case. I just don't get it. I mean, Wesley McWhirter is a time-stamped person driving around that supposedly sees this car. I'd understand not using Terry Wilson because he sees a purple PT Cruiser and he's on a road that's quite far in a lane, the other side of the road. But to me, this would be slam dunk. But they didn't. Nor did they use Teresa Liebert, who apparently said she also saw a small dark car parked there because it was between 1 and 2 p.m. But yeah, Betsy Blair's timestamp too. But did you notice how that they also, I'm pretty sure we can look at it, probably not today, but we can look at Betsy Blair's testimony. They weren't very interested in asking her too much about the car scene because they actually wanted wanted to avoid that and sidestep that. That was the defense that brought that up, right? I can't remember for sure. I have to go back over her testimony, but I'm pretty sure. We'll keep these questions in mind. Okay, we are going to look at testimony about the Hoosier Harvest store. We'll look at Mullen and Holman, and we'll also look at Betsy Blair, Brad Heath. We'll look at all of them, and we'll put it all together and see if my sneakiness hypothesis is correct. We'll call this the sneaky car theory. I don't know. Doesn't have the same ring as the cold shock theory? I don't know. Hey, Zeke. Zeke asked me if I ever have a night off. No, Zeke, never. I literally finished up with my last client at 8 o'clock and I'm here, I'm on. And tomorrow I'm going to be on again. But I will burn out eventually. But, we're in the rundown to Christmas. And so I'm like, yeah, we got a big holiday coming up. I can do this. I can do it. We can do it. Yeah, Chester, it is hard to understand. But, how people would or wouldn't accept the outcome for sure. I think, though, I can't remember who it was in the chat yesterday, made a point that was pretty similar to what I would say, which was I think sometimes people just want closure and they'd rather believe that. So there can be a level of sometimes like a protective mechanism there. Was that yesterday or was that the day before? Days blur when you do a live every single day. I hope you guys don't mind me going live every single day. I mean, you keep turning up, so I assume you don't mind it. And I try not to keep repeating the same thing over and over again. So I hope it's useful. And I kind of really, at the moment now, I have, instead of doing the full-on planned presentations, I'm basically just doing this with you. Like, I find it so helpful to have other people talking in the chat as I kind of digest this as well, like just different research partners and a community, except when you disagree with me, because then you will be shunned from the channel. So Scott, watch your back. Only joking. We can disagree. We all can disagree in here. I think that's been proven now because we have a really good community of people who believe both that Rick is guilty and innocent and everyone in between. And that's exactly what the Delphi mystery community was when I started that. Now I'm very neglectful of it, but only because I do YouTube more. But I really hope everybody sees that this is not a biased place. I mean, there are biases, and when the biases come up, I like to tell on myself, as everybody knows, and get emotional because it's hard to see our own shadow. I don't know if you guys feel that, but I find it hard. I see my shadow too painfully all the time. It's like this bright light shining on me constantly. Anyway, so, I mean, yeah, Let's email Nick. Yeah, well, Nick's my best friend, so I can email him. I mean, I was going to email him anyway and ask him what he wanted for Christmas, so I can just ask him, hey, what do you want for Christmas? But also, where's Mr. Wesley? Wesley McWhirter. Can you tell us what happened to him? And does he go out for lunch sometimes, Mr. McClelland? Because I think he probably does. And when did he see that car? Why didn't you use it? Right? Okay. I'm not sure what that reference is, Zeke, but okay. Um, yeah. Can you email him, Scott? You can become his best friend too. Yeah, I don't think that he'll want to be my best friend. I don't think Nick's going to want to be my best friend because, contrary to what some of my haters would say, I'm pretty sure that Nick McClelland wouldn't like me either. As we all know, I'm disliked by all sides of the equation, but I'm also liked by all sides of the equation. So there you go, right? It's okay. But yeah, I'm not best friends with Nick, and I'm certainly not at all trying to be either. No offense to Nick, but I've got enough friends, to be honest. Um, I've got I've got some lovely friends that have started to join me in here. So, I don't have time for any more friends at the moment, except for people who join my community. Join my community, then you'll be my friend for sure. So, Nick, join my community, come and talk about the problems with this investigation and why Rick was railroaded, and then we will be solid best friends for life. Okay, no more comedy. Yeah, Chester, no, I totally understand that you're not blaming them either. It's so confusing. There's so much stuff in this case. It's just confusing, frustrating, hard to understand. I blew the bridge up. Oh, did I? Goodness, poor me. I blow up a lot of bridges. Oh well, it is what it is. Are you going to sleep, Mustang? Good night. It was lovely to see you. Get a good night's sleep, and we'll see you tomorrow. Tomorrow's live will be at a more normal time for you guys in the Northern Hemisphere. So it'll be during the working day because Tuesdays is my partial day off. I do have to do a little bit of work, but I'll have some time to hop on. It's going to be a really hot day, though. So maybe I should just go in the pool and skip my video because I'm procrastinating. All right, let's get back to this because the other day somebody complained that I spent 20 minutes not talking about Delphi, and then they said, no, scrap it. She spent the whole time not talking about Delphi, which I thought was like, wow, because I actually think I talk about Delphi too much usually. So I don't know how I managed to get something else in. Oh, Mustang, we're not ignoring your comments. Are we? I thought I was talking to your comments. You're not ignored in here. Oh, I saw that your last comment. I'm so sorry. I missed that. I was too busy joking. Rick's appellates have less than 30 days. Yes, they do. They do. Mustang, please don't leave. I know this, like, the community can sometimes feel really stressful. So I totally understand why you might think that people might ignore you, but please, nobody is ignored here. It's just that Amy's brain goes off on a gazillion, my favorite word in here, tangents, and I don't want to ignore you at all. Sometimes I lose my track if I don't keep going. I get this pressure. Oh my goodness, if you meet me in person, I'm just as annoying. So, but yeah. So no, they have still got some days. I don't know what was the day when the exhibits were finally provided to them. I think it would have only been last week because that's when we all started seeing them. So I think they probably got the deadline for the appellate documentation or whatever it's called. I can't think of the word now. Is submission, I'm guessing, is probably around mid-December, I'm guessing. So not long now. I hope that everything is going well with that. Okay. Yeah, they may not, RC911. They may not wait till the last minute to file it. They may be ready now, I hope. That would be good. And I'm glad you enjoy the tangents. I'm very good at tangents. It's not a college assignment. Well, if it were me, they would be doing it at, like, I don't know, 11 p.m. if it's due at midnight, because that's how I do. That's how I do things. I do everything at the last minute. Okay. So yeah, that's Wesley McWhirter. That, to me, I honestly believe is quite sneaky. We're going to talk through all my arguments about this at the end. ChatGPT has put them all together for me and organized them. Hey, Mercedes, good to see you. So what RA was there? So were other people, and anyone could have been waiting under the bridge and in those woods. 100%. Yeah, 100%. And I think my latest theory, and of course my theories evolve, is that there are two people. There's young bridge guy and old bridge guy. Young bridge guy is a guy waiting for the girls who I believe, and again, this is just hypothesis, but I believe that that whoever snaps them as they're walking on the 501 and they potentially video a snap back or a photo back, I believe that that's the person they're planning on meeting, and I don't think that's the man following Abby on the bridge. I think they're two different people. I don't know which is the one that walked past the other girls. I don't know for sure. I don't know where exactly they came from. I do believe there's more than one offender in this. I've always believed that. I believe that there's probably a few offenders, not even just two. And I do think the girls were meeting someone they knew and trusted, not a catfish as well. So, I like to have my contrarian theories. So, yeah. Okay, so I don't believe there was a car there at 2:28. Brad Heath didn't see a car there. He drove. He was around that area. He was working there. Yeah, I don't know. Carol, nice to see you. Welcome. And it's not that I don't believe Wesley here. I just believe that the wording of this seems off, and I think there's a reason for that. And I think it's the same reason that they didn't bring him as a witness at trial. So let's keep going. So we've got Dave Riley, who we've heard about before. He's the dog walker. He drives a big Honda truck, and this is again a bit confusing. So as he's passing the cemetery, he sees a newer silver or grey car turn out of the cemetery. So this car now has been identified as Fred Coghill. I don't know why I just assume Fred Coghill is an older person. I'm just basing it on a stereotype of the age. I don't think that this is a suspicious person, though. We've never heard of Fred Coghill before. He's on video. So is Fred Coghill then on video going to the cemetery? You see how confusing this is? Because Dave Riley came to the trailhead. First of all, notice that what they call the trailhead. Mears is the trailhead. Again, interesting, because when you look at a lot of the testimony or the statement from Rick as well, people call it the trailhead, right? Okay, so it says he saw this car coming out of the cemetery. So he would be driving on 300 N north, and he sees this person coming out. So then it's got these two timestamps. So it's confusing. So is Dave Riley on the video at 2:25 going eastbound towards the cemetery, and then for 2:30 going westbound leaving the cemetery, or is that Fred Coghill who goes to the cemetery for 5 minutes maybe to drop off flowers? It's confusing. I don't know about you guys. Or is Dave Riley going to the cemetery and then he comes back to the trails? I'm confused. Does anyone else understand this? It feels like a very difficult English exam, but I actually think it's not me that's wrong here, right? Does anyone understand this? Does anyone read this and go, yeah, that makes sense? So I know it's Coghill's car at the cemetery, Scott, but what on earth is all of these different timestamps? So someone's coming eastbound, then they're going westbound, like he's going towards the cemetery. Oh, this car's going westbound, leaving the cemetery. Oh, I get it now. Okay, so Dave Riley is going eastbound towards the cemetery at this time. That's when he's caught on the camera, and he passes this person who's going westbound, Fred Coghill, from the cemetery. And so then Dave gets to the trailhead at about that time. But if he's caught on the video at that time, why does it take him 5 minutes to get to the trailhead? I'm confused. Anyway, doesn't matter. I mean, that's probably not super relevant. It doesn't actually really matter because Dave Riley isn't someone that we're overly concerned about. Hey, General Hester, lovely to see you. Good morning. It's evening here, but good morning to you. It must be early. Whereabouts are you from? So when he gets there, he's the only vehicle there. Now, this really fits with the timeline I always thought after Betsy Blair leaves is when everybody else arrives. So this is where I was saying before, people have thrown poor David McCann under the bus, saying he was there at 2 because his memory, he doesn't remember what time he got there. So Dave McCain comes after Dave Riley. So Dave Riley's there. He's the only vehicle there because Betsy Blair's already gone. And Riley walks the trail across the Freedom Bridge with his puppy dog. I'm sure it's not a puppy, and back to his vehicle. I think his dog's black. I have a black dog too, but it's just because someone else mentions a black dog later. So when he gets back, he observes vehicles parked there. So a white Impala, that's Shelby Hicks, and a tan Accord. Here we go, guys. The tan Accord that See-Through was like screaming out at me saying, look at this document. And there I am wasting a whole lot of hours not listening to my friend See-Through and talking about Dave McCain's car maybe being a dark Honda Civic, a hatchback. So it isn't. Ignore that video. That video was interesting. The theory was incorrect. Okay, the theory was incorrect. That was not Dave McCain's car, according to this, because the tan Accord looks nothing like the car on the Hoosier Harvest Store footage. He had a parking ticket. Zeke, this is a big problem. A parking ticket? I'm only joking. I'm being silly. I mean, it's ridiculous. I agree with you. And that's why we're going to talk tomorrow about the forensic unicorn theory. Mustang says, also, one of those witnesses said Jimmy Duval thinks was his name looked similar to BG and he happens to look like RA. I thought I looked up Jimmy Duval. Does Jimmy Duval look like Rick? I actually thought he looked more like, let me look him up again because I don't want to misspeak. Jimmy Duval. Oh, I don't think this is the right Jimmy Duval because I'm getting some young guy that doesn't look anything like Rick. I do think I've looked him up before though. Is Jimmy Duval the guy that's he's kind of got like a sort of let's have a look. He's sort of got a beard and it's sort of a gingerish brownish color, which would match some of the girls' descriptions, but does that match Rick? I mean, I don't know. I mean, he could look like any guy with a beard, I suppose, but I'm not sure. You reckon he looks like Rick's twin? Okay, I'm not sure, Mustang. Can you send me a picture when you get a chance? If you can send me a picture, that'd be cool because then we can have a look. Because sometimes it's so hard because when you type in people's names, you get all versions of that. So I'm sure if you had my full name and typed it in, you get lots of different people. Are you making a funny joke, Scott, there, I'm guessing? It looks like a bit of a jokey thing. Okay. Oh, hey, USA Libertarian. Nice to see you. You're rereading Rick's interview, Scott. Oh, okay. You weren't making a joke. You're right. When he said he fell asleep on the road. Okay, I thought you were just actually making a joke. Okay. I don't know. I suppose I'm trying to think. Like, I don't know if you'd get charged if it didn't cause any harm or injury, and if it's an error because you fell asleep. I don't know. Is that actually technically a crime? I don't know. And I think it would be if it led to, serious injury, but I'm not sure. Would you get charged with that? I don't know. I don't know the law well enough. Not gonna say that I know about that. Yeah, Nicole's talking about the sketches at the CVS that were right next to him. Yeah. Okay, so let's just this one page, we're like taking a long time with this one page. We may have to do the PCA tomorrow. We'll have to do this in 2 parts at this rate, but that's okay. So all I'm saying though, what's interesting when you look at this document is that there is so much information on here that helps us with the timelines. And I've definitely heard people, myself included, say, why do we not have the timestamps from the Hoosier Harvest or footage? And here it is. I'm like, Oh my goodness, this could have helped a long time ago. So Dave Riley is there between 2:30 and 2:55. That seems very consistent with other people's recollections of seeing his truck there, but also in terms of seeing him walking with his dogs. Dave Riley isn't someone at all who is suspicious. He went towards Freedom Bridge, nowhere near the bridge. So he was the earliest one there, though, we can see, other than Betsy Blair, who I don't know. Betsy Blair's loops confuse me. They really confuse me. And so it's hard to know. Thank you so much, Mustang. I'll have a look. I'm not going to look right now just because otherwise I'll get off track and we'll be here for another 2 hours. But I'll definitely take a look. But yeah, I guess I don't know with Betsy Blair's loops. Did she? I don't believe she would have gone to the bridge the last time on the loop, would she? So yeah, Betsy Blair's only at the bridge when she sees the guy standing there, and then she goes back towards the 505 and then the Freedom Bridge and then back, and she leaves. It's quite a short loop. So Dave Riley also goes the other way. He doesn't go left towards the bridge. So there's a fair amount of time there where nobody is going near the Monon High Bridge, which is actually, it's really sad, isn't it? It's actually really sad because it's almost like, again, this is the whole point of like the coincidences of things. Like, what if Dave Riley, well, actually, he would have got there too late. But I mean, what if he'd been 5 minutes earlier and he got there and he decided to walk his dog to the bridge, you know? It just, I mean, no one could have predicted that there'd be no one there at that time. But they worked so swiftly. I mean, they really did. And I think there was enough plausible deniability. If somebody had turned up on the bridge, they could have aborted the mission and no one would have been the wiser. It would have just been some creepy guy walking on the bridge, but he didn't do anything, you know. I don't know. Chess, I don't know. Not that we're aware of. Yeah. Okay, so yeah, I'm just reflecting on just how close it was, you know, that the bridge was only unattended between what, 5 to 2 and whatever time Dave McCain gets there. Well, actually it was unattended for a while, wasn't it? Because Dave McCain doesn't get there till 2:44. But I believe actually no, the earlier ones are there already, aren't they? Oh no, they're not. So Shelby Hicks and Daniel Pearson arrive at 2:48, and then Cheyenne and Shelby Duncan are the last ones to arrive, and Derek German. I agree with you on that, Scott. I do really feel as though it all happened so quickly, but I just don't know how they managed to, whoever did this managed to pick the window when nobody else was around. I mean, it feels so brutally unlucky for the girls. Because, like I said, if Dave Riley or Dave McCain had been a little bit earlier, it's not their fault, of course, but if they had been a bit earlier and got there a bit earlier and walked that way, I mean, who knows? Maybe the dog would said something. Maybe, you know, who knows what could have happened? It's like when you're watching a movie and you're like, it's just this split second. I mean, it's not a second, but how did the people doing this know that there would be no one on the bridge? I believe they didn't, but they had a lookout. This is all just theoretical, of course, but if the lookout was kind of keeping an eye out, and then, I don't know, like, if someone had turned up, they would have aborted the mission and said, oh, well, he was just a creepy old guy following the girls on the bridge. I wonder if that's also why bridge guy doesn't do anything reactive until right at the end when he knows he's clear with them. He's trapped them and they're clear and there's no escape for them and there's no one behind him on the bridge. I wouldn't be surprised if he looks back and checks. And he's unfortunately got that window because the first person to actually get to the bridge would then be probably Dan McCain or Dave McCain. I always get the names muddled up. Dave McCain. And it would have been too late. I believe that the girls are already, unfortunately, have already been killed by then. Hey, Critter Mama, lovely to see you. Lovely to see you. Oh, I always get that sinking, shivery feeling when I talk about that. I definitely agree with you with a lot of this stuff, Scott. I think our timeline around what happens with Bridge Guy onwards, we're very much aligned with that, even though we have a different idea of who Bridge Guy is. But yeah. I missed a few comments here. I think I saw Zeke said it could have been RA. He was out there. He was tried for murder, not being sketch deposit. Who wrote clearly despite being 11. Very wealthy source of analysis. Yeah, I mean, the lost tip narrative to me, if nothing makes you question the what's the word? If nothing else makes you question the validity of this whole thing, the lost tip is part of it, because it's not just that we could say it's an error now. It's literally, I mean, to me, I allege it's perjury, because clearly that tip was not just found in 2022. It was printed. It was stored in multiple different places. We've got multiple witnesses, of the multiple state witnesses, all sitting there saying that this is the correct story when it doesn't make sense, because Doolan's got the tip in his folder and on his computer. He's shredded it, but then he's also got a hard copy and he scanned it. It doesn't make sense. None of it makes sense. And then we've got Kathy Shank finding it in 2022. She's never seen it before, but she printed it in 2019. We've got Holman being the person it was reported to. We've got the phone details provided to the phone people at ISP. Like, there's too many copies of this floating around. We've got the BMV. Like, there's just no way that it was just this one piece of paper that accidentally got lost because it was cleared. Like, it was on Orion as well. Like, it just doesn't add up. Yeah, I mean, Mustang, they didn't want to be wrong about someone. Yeah, I guess, but why wouldn't they have at least kept it at the top of their mind, even if they weren't able to actually say one way or another? It says cleared on it. They had a lot of information. And, the second point I always raise is to do with the geofencing. I mean, either his phone is at home or it's not at home. It's on the trails. It's not on the trails. Like, I just don't understand how the state can say, I mean, Jerry Holman can say that his phone was at home. Well, then if his phone was at home, you would use that again at trial. I think that there's just too many discrepancies. And when you look at those, and then you add in the fact that Rick is just an unlikely candidate for this crime, you put all of that together, then you're not even going to use whoever, all of these different things, like Wesley saying that he saw a car there at 2:28, because he didn't say that. I don't think he said it. I think that Wesley said he probably saw a dark car there at some point, and they've gone, oh, well, we've got a timestamp here for Wesley's car at 2:28, and that will corroborate our story, but it's not enough to put him on the stand at trial. I think that's big. I really do. So I'm mindful, guys, because it's getting late, and I've worked a whole day today, a clinic day, and I've been staying up too late every day. And we've got so much more to talk about. I think we're going to end it in a couple of minutes, just see what you guys are all saying. Yes, I agree with you, Scott. So if he left his phone at home and he left it there on purpose, again, this would be something they would want to show at trial. I don't understand them. Why were they so desperate to suppress geofencing? I just think at the end of the day, that would actually be inculpatory. Just as if his phone shows on the trails and then leaves the trails and is at home, that would be exculpatory. There's a reason that they buried or wanted, they didn't bury it, but they wanted to suppress the geofencing. And I have said this since really early on. I think the geofencing, along with this Hoosier Harvest Store issue, are key. I think they're two things that can still be looked at. Definitely the geofencing, but also the Hoosier Harvest Store as well. But there isn't a lot of ambiguity in interpreting geofence data. It would be far more solid than the toolmark analysis that they did, that was not scientifically proven. Critter Mama, I still haven't seen your fog science data. You got to send it to me. I keep meaning to look it up. You'll have to send it to me. Fog sight, should I look it up, or is it something specific to Delphi? Because I don't know anything about fog science data. I'm actually looking it up as we talk. But you're also welcome to send it to me directly too. I'm just looking it up now because I did the same with see-through. See-through kept repeating things to me and I wasn't looking and it was gold, and I'm doing the same to you, and I don't want you to think I'm ignoring it. I just always forget. I'm always like thinking about millions of things and going, that's the next thing I'll get to. Fog science data. Oh, you mean so the thing that's coming up with fog science, it says decentralized computing. No, I don't think it must be that. I don't know. Oh, is it like a group sourced data? Is that what it is, Critter Mama? Cool. Yeah, let me look into it. If it's what I think you're saying, but I don't want to speak of it without knowing, because I'm just probably going to sound silly, which is fine. I'm not averse to sounding silly, but yeah, send me the link. But I can also look it up. I'll have some time tomorrow. Tomorrow is my quieter day, not a clinic day, just a couple of clients. So I'll have a look. Mustang is asking about him not telling Kathy he was on the bridge. My understanding from reading Kathy's interview as well, I just don't think she directly asked him if he was on the bridge or not, and I don't think he directly told her. I don't. So the way I see it is, let's say, someone who I am very close to, whether it's a partner or a parent or a sibling, I think if they were at the scene of a crime and I trusted them, let's take my dad would be a good example of this, and he'd been there and he came home and he's like, oh my goodness, I was there. I wouldn't be like, I would have said, did you see those girls? Which I think Kathy does say, but I wouldn't be then like grilling him about exactly where he went or what he did, because to me, it wouldn't even occur to me. And I think for Kathy, it didn't occur to her. She clearly in that 2022 interview is not particularly phased by the questions. She's not concerned that it's her husband. So I kind of feel like she probably didn't ask him directly, or she might have said, did you cross the bridge? Because they're asking about bridge guy. And he probably said, no, I didn't cross the bridge, because he didn't. And I think maybe the first trestle as well, a lot of people talk about going on it, but they don't see that as crossing the bridge. So I don't know. I know it's semantic, but it's also, we're looking at 5.5 years later as well. I know the part you're referring to, Mustang. Actually, on the psych panel, have we put that one up? I think we have. I think it's on the psych panel 1 or 2. I think it might be 1. I think it's 1. I showed that to Ash and Mel as well, and we were all talking about, whether it would be odd or not. And look, we were all more inclined to say it wasn't, because most of us really felt like, you don't really grill a loved one about where they were, and so it might just be a misunderstanding, as opposed to a deliberate lie. I know people will say, well, Kathy can, be in denial. I don't agree. I think Kathy presents to me as a sensible, rational, really resilient woman. And I do really feel as though in most cases, and we'll talk about this tomorrow when we talk about the forensic unicorn, in a lot of cases, the partners actually leave their incarcerated partner. It's very rare for someone to stick by their partner once they've been found guilty, particularly of a crime like this. And yet Kathy is steadfastly there still for him. Now, she also doesn't present in the way that some people will kind of make her out to be, as sort of naive or clueless. She presents very much as to me, as a insightful, wise woman. So, I don't know. Everyone knows I have a very soft spot for Kathy Allen. I've never met her, but I know we'd be firm buddies. She likes cats like I do. So, I feel like she's my sort of person. I'd love to meet her. I know there are people who I speak to who speak to her, and the people that she's friends with are people who I really like. So I'm going to guess that Kathy and I'd be good friends. So Kathy, I always say, if she's ever out there watching, I hope that this channel feels like a safe space for her, because we're all about understanding her. I mean, Rick says he goes to the first trestle as well, Mustang. So I do believe he does go on the bridge, but he doesn't cross the bridge. I agree, Chester. It is very sad. It is very sad. Yes, exactly. You're a libertarian, 100%. Yeah, Betsy said he had poofy hair. But then she said he looked like the picture. And look, no shade on Betsy Blair. If you ask me who was the person that served me today when I was at the shops, I don't know. I think we always do our best to try and remember things, and in this situation, you'd really be kind of racking your brain trying to figure it out. But yeah, it's such a divisive case, guys. What I love though is, again, in the chat now we've got people who believe both sides, people who are in the middle, and I really love that it's been really respectful in here. I hope that I've been respectful too. I know I get very passionate, so please, apologies if I ever do come across a bit brusque when I'm responding. I try not to, but I do get passionate and I'll be like, no, that's not it. But I think you guys all know by now I'm a bit of a passionate person. The fishing license, yes, you're a libertarian. I'm with you on that. The fishing license is a little bit silly, isn't it? And I don't think that was his very clever move to try and change his height so that he wasn't caught, because there would probably be some better things to do, like sell the car, move away, change his appearance, not tell people he was on the bridge. Not say he was wearing clothes like bridge guy, not say he saw girls on the trails, but he does none of that. Say that he gave his jacket to someone, say that he lent his gun out to someone, but he doesn't do any of that. He doesn't try to distance himself from the crime at all. And yet, if we're to believe, he changed his height on the fishing license. So this is the sort of stuff that came into trial, right? Where I'm like, come on, this is not good evidence. And yet now we're seeing that Wesley McWhirter potentially saw this car as he was leaving work. Come on, what's more useful evidence? So I don't think we can. I really feel like we cannot say that they didn't use Wesley McWhirter because it wasn't useful evidence, but then they used a fishing license. Ridiculous, right? I'm not saying you guys are ridiculous. I'm just saying the fishing license idea is, to me, absurd. I think it does not make sense. Anyway, guys, it's getting late. I'm still at work and I've got to do the awful task of packing up. Oh, I can't stand packing up. It's the worst. Be called what I've been called, then get back to me. What's that? You say libertarian. Did somebody call you something? I'm sorry. You know that people have called me so many things. I just honestly do not understand people sometimes. You'd think I should. It's my job, but I think that there's definitely a lot of cruelty in this community. I know I've said that many times, but I think it definitely needs to be said. I think we should all be really careful about how we treat each other. And I think everybody in here is doing that. I haven't seen it in here, so it's not a message for this community right now, or almost pretty much everybody in this community. I've never, witnessed people being nasty in here. Well, not never, but I haven't really. Side convo. Okay. Hey, Short Bus. Nice to see you. Unfortunately, we're just about to finish up, but you can catch the replay. The misinformation is problematic. It is. It's problematic both within the investigation, but also, unfortunately, outside the investigation too, because oh, you joined Short Bus. You're my first member. My goodness, I don't even know what the member stuff is really, but I set it up. I thought we'll give it a go. Oh, well, you're going to have to get a special prize now, Short Bus. I don't know what, but we'll get you one for sure. Yeah, the misinformation doesn't just come from the investigation. Unfortunately, there's misinformation from literally every single angle in this case. And I know that I call it out a lot, and I know that's not always enjoyable for people. But at the end of the day, I don't mind if you call out my misinformation. The other day when I got upset wasn't because I was being called out for being wrong. It was because I wasn't being understood when I was actually trying to own my own bias. That's the stuff that upsets me. Of course, I don't like to be disagreed with. Nobody does. But at the end of the day, if I'm giving blatant misinformation, please, please let me know. I have, and I've always tried to correct myself. So I am passionate about this for sure. Yeah, thank you so much, Short Bus. I so appreciate that. That was just lovely of you to join. I appreciate all of you guys. You're amazing, and thank you for being here and being with me even at these weird times when we do this. It means the world to me. Yeah, it's not. No, I know you don't mean. I don't know you don't mean me, Critter Mama. Totally not. I really don't feel like anyone criticizes me in here. There was only the one occasion where I felt a little bit cornered, but other than that, no. This community's been beautiful, and even there's the odd comment sometimes where I'm like, might not have been as necessary, but by and large, everybody's been really, really lovely. So really, really appreciate you guys. Please never worry. You do not need to be tone policed in here unless you're being really nasty and rude to people. Okay, which no one does. I haven't seen that happening in the chat. So yeah. Okay. Well, guys, it is late, and as much as I love talking to you, and I could probably do it for a few more hours, I probably should get some sleep because my little guys will be up bright and early with lots of cuddles for mama. And I need to get home. I bought them this book they've been wanting, and I got to hide all this elf stuff that I bought because we're doing Elf on the Shelf. I might actually do shorts of my Elf on the Shelf for you guys if you're interested. We won't put that in a whole live, but you guys can see the weird antics of my elves. I have a whole family of them because, Amy doesn't do anything in halves. Well, what's that? What's that saying? I've lost it. But anyway, everything I do is over the top. I am over the top. Oh, Mustang, that you really like. If you join, that's lovely, but you honestly don't have to. Please, guys, don't feel like you have to worry about any financial aspects to the channel. Like, I set it all up because I'm like, you know what? If people want to do it, that's fine. But honestly, it doesn't matter at all. I love doing this. I'll continue to do it. And if we get high enough, then the ads end up apparently paying for some of this stuff. And I'd much rather that than it be people forking out of their own pockets. So, yeah. All right, guys, have a lovely day, night, wherever you are. I'll see some of you guys again tomorrow at some point. I keep changing the time around because I do have some clients, but watch out for the notification. I will go live tomorrow and we'll start talking about the forensic unicorn idea. We're going to just do it, reading through some documents and stuff again because I haven't prepared. I did prepare, but I've forgotten half the stuff. But we'll look at Russell Williams. I think it is. Is it Russell Williams? It's Russell Williams. We'll look at Russell Williams tomorrow. Okay. And compare him to Rick Allen. You may still hear my biases, but I really don't think Rick Allen and Russell Williams are alike. And we'll discuss why tomorrow. So have a wonderful everything and love and light to you all. Bye-bye.